The Bug Bucks Podcast!
If you want to keep your customers, which is core to a recurring pest control revenue business, you have to keep your technicians, period. In full stop, like game over. That's what's really cool about this system where Applause is like, hey, we want to be able to see like how those techs are doing. How are they performing?
And they all have different things that might motivate them to do their best work. There's a group of technicians that are financially motivated. You can set up individual bonuses and incentives based on outcomes that are good for your business. One of the reasons that we can help companies 3x their Google reviews, you could tell the technician, hey, every 5-star review you get, we're gonna give you $10. The second that review populates, you're gonna get the $10 immediately in your Applause mobile wallet. You can also do that with any other KPI. Safe driving scores, because we're getting too many accidents and insurance costs went up. And you can pull that metric into Applause and you can assign a monthly bonus to it.
Holy cow.
True Green uses our scorecard product for their technicians. They, in the history of their company, were never able to get a meaningful amount of technicians to score over 90 on the safe driving score out of the fleet management tool. After having Applause for 1 month, they had 20% of their technicians that got a 95.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bug Bucks Podcast. I'm your host, Allan Draper. Thankful to be with you as always. Do me a favor. We need some more reviews, and the reason why is because people are trying to find our podcast, and sometimes they misspell bucks or whatever, B-U-G-B-U-X. Make sure whatever platform you listen to this on, leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. Something. I need more reviews so that people that are actually looking for our podcast can find it. Very cool episode today. A little off kind of the normal beaten path. So our guest today is Taylor Olson. He's the CEO and co-founder of Applause, where he's leading the charge to help home service businesses gain deeper insights into their customers while motivating employees through real-time incentives and recognition. Is awesome. A successful entrepreneur with a passion for building solutions that drive growth. Taylor previously co-founded a company you've probably heard of, Slingshot Technology, which was an answering service designed for busy home service businesses. With a law degree from UCLA and a business degree from BYU, Taylor's leadership reflects a commitment to empowering businesses to succeed through smarter operations and stronger employee engagement. So with that, Taylor, welcome to the show.
Heck yeah, man. That was one good intro. Thank you for the kind words.
Of course,
Stoked
man.
to be here. We've been a part of Bug Bucks now for, I think, 2 years. We love the community. Some of our favorite customers are part of Bug Bucks. We found through Bug Bucks. So thank you for having us back, and just, excited to be here.
Absolutely. In fact, Applause was one of our original, if not our very first relationship, which means a lot to us, and with what we're trying to do at Bug Bucks, which is, dude, deep down, we're just trying to help pest control companies scale. That's like our heart and soul.
I mean, I remember like being in the industry from 2014 to 2020, and then I took about a year off after Slingshot sold, and I felt like I came back and there was this Bug Bucks thing that everyone was talking about that was like the best community for pest control operators. And it felt like it came out of nowhere. And I just remember thinking like, yeah, we need to be a part of that. And it feels like the growth of it happened just so fast that it was surprising in a cool way.
You know what's crazy is, so the original community was built just to be that, right? And then I was approached by somebody and they said, hey, let's turn this into a business. And to be honest, like, our financials aren't like awesome. And the reason why is because it was never meant to be a business. It was meant to be a community. And dude, I'll be damned if we lose that, right? Like, that's what's important to us. And the cool thing is that Bug Bucks Plus, for our subscribers, they get discounts and special deals from certain vendors, and Applause is one of those. So most people that listen to the show and that are part of our Bug Bucks community, or part of our very large email lists, or, you know, involved in different ways with Bug Bucks, they know what Applause is. But let's do a quick primer. It's such a great software, and it, you know, what's interesting is that Proof uses Applause, and something we're proud of, and something we're really digging into and learning about, especially as it affects our people, right? We're always trying, one of our headaches is finding, recruiting, and retaining top technicians, very specifically because of how fast we grow at Proof. And so that was one of our main interests. So tell me a little bit about Applause, and let's talk about what are some of those ways that they're helping companies retain people, because I know the listeners out there thinking, it's not busy season, just kind of came to a close, but we're already gearing up for 2026, and we want to make sure we have the best technicians behind the wheel of our trucks and servicing our homes.
Oh, 100%. I mean, falling behind on technician count for the growth in the summer, that's just one of the worst things for an upcoming year. So I think that, like you said, most people have probably heard of Applause at this point. We've been around for 3 years. And somewhat counterintuitively, I think in the beginning, people thought, oh, Applause, you guys do tips. You were one of the first folks to let technicians get a tip, right? And they still think of us that way. And then there's another group of folks that think of Applause as, oh, you guys help get tons of Google reviews. You guys are a review platform. And those things are true. But from the beginning of Applause, what our North Star was and the reason we exist was to meaningfully improve the performance of technicians, to make them do better work, inspire them to be their best, and on the management side, just make it easier for managers to get the most out of their team. And we started with some things that we felt like could help the technician be motivated to treat the customer better. And that's when we started with tips and with reviews. We attached a financial incentive to the review. And that was the start of the engine that has hit a bit of another milestone with our recent release of the scorecard product, of just having tons of different ways to measure and motivate a technician to do their best work. And so as of today, when I explain what Applause is, it's not about tips, it's not about reviews, it's very much about technician performance. And our scorecard product brings in basically any KPI that you're already tracking or you wish you could track to measure performance, and we bring it in automatically into a management dashboard and into a mobile app so the tech knows where they're at in any given day.
What's interesting is I was just kind of thinking about, if I'm looking at a P&L for a pest control company, one of the things that I really like to look at is line item percentage of gross revenue. I think it's really telling. I don't really look at raw data very much. I always look at what is this compared to last quarter, or where are we, this quarter year over year. But I especially look at what's my line item. For example, what percentage are my chemicals, products, is what we call them, as a percentage of top line revenue? I love to see that in the 1.5% to 2%, right? Okay. Everything on my P&L, I like to see go down as a percentage of gross revenue, except for one thing, and that's my tech wages. That one, I'll see that creep up, and I'm like, I have no problem with it because we're investing in our people, because retention is so important. I always say, hey, if you want to keep your customers, which is core to a recurring pest control revenue business, you have to keep your technicians, period, in full stop, game over. You have to keep your technicians. You have to keep your good ones at least. And that's what's really cool about this system, where Applause is hey, we want to be able to see how those techs are doing. How are they performing? Because at the end of the day, people want to be doing a good job. The best people aren't just working for a paycheck. They want to be doing a good job. And not only that, they want to hear about it.
Totally, man. And I think that technicians are not that much different than you and I, and they all have different things that might motivate them to do their best work. For example, there's a group of technicians that are financially motivated, and they'll act a lot like a sales guy. Hey, give me a chance to earn more money and you're going to see me get after it. And for those technicians, Applause is incredible, because you can set up individual bonuses and incentives based on outcomes that are good for your business. For example, one of the reasons that we can help companies 3x their Google reviews is you can, if you care about it, you could tell the technician, hey, every 5-star review you get, we're going to give you $10. The second that review populates, you're going to get the $10 immediately in your Applause mobile wallet. And there's a certain amount of technicians that's very motivating for. You can also do that with any other KPI. So you could say, hey, we're really trying to work on safe driving scores because we're getting too many accidents and insurance costs went up. And you can pull that metric into Applause and you can assign a monthly bonus to it.
Holy cow.
And so for that group of technicians, you got their attention. They want to go make money. There's another group of technicians that respond to competition. So they're going to be looking in the leaderboard. And they're going to really want to see their name at the top of the list.
Yeah.
And maybe the metric that you care about this month, maybe it's reservices. Maybe you need to bring reservices down by a couple percentages. That's what you create your leaderboard around. And there's going to be a group of technicians that they check their app 6, 7, 8 times a day to see where they are on the leaderboard. And then there's going to be another group of technicians that they want the verbal recognition. That's their love language. I want someone to tell me that I did a good job. That motivates me to do my best work. We not only get that from management in the app, but also all the customer feedback is immediately going into the palm of the hand of a technician in the Applause mobile app. So think of the CSAT or NPS survey that goes out after the tech leaves the customer home, the Google review and the comments that come around that. Those things are immediately given to the technician in the mobile app. And so throughout their day, they might hear 3, 4, 5 times that what a great job they did. And that's, for that group of technicians, that's what motivates them the most. So sort of like, regardless of what motivates them, like Applause is going to help them do their best work. And the last thing I'll say is, it's maybe not as fun to talk about, but there's a group of technicians that what motivates them the most is when their manager says, hey, you're not meeting expectations and you need to change or there's going to be a consequence. And for those group of technicians, management has all the KPIs in real time and doesn't have to wait till the end of the month or the next month to have that conversation. They can go have the conversation at the end of the week. And some technicians do need to hear that in order to go do their best work.
Hey, Allan here. Quick question for you. Are you actually doing anything with all that customer feedback you've been collecting? Or is it just sitting there? That's where our friends at Ask Nicely come in. They help people-powered pest businesses, just like yours, turn feedback into action and real results. We're talking about smarter, AI-powered surveys that know what to ask and when. Your team gets clear, personalized priorities that help boost retention, drive referrals, and grow revenue, all without another clunky platform to manage. They work with big names like Aptiv, Moxie, and Cooks, so they get pest control. Head to asknicely.com/bugbucks and book a personalized consultation or DM Ask Nicely to the Bugbucks Facebook page and we'll get you connected. Don't forget to ask special discounts for Bugbucks Facebook members and Bugbucks Plus subscribers. You know, you brought up quite a few like really core principles in operating an effective and efficient pest control company. Let's talk about Google reviews. Or reviews in general, but especially Google reviews. With pest control, people don't come to us, right? We don't have a storefront. We don't have like a look and feel when people come into our restaurant or a retail store or if you're Target or whatever. So what's our brand? Our brand is a couple of things. I think it's your trucks, it's your technicians. Are they looking sharp? How are they, the kind of those intangibles. But besides that, and especially pre-purchase, your brand is two things. It's your reviews and it's your website. Shout out to Lizard. If you need a website, check Lizard out, obviously. But when we're talking about reviews, it's like, our website that's us talking about ourselves. Okay. Of course, we're going to say great things. And hopefully your website has some actual real public reviews that you've pulled from the different websites. But when you have reviews like from a Google, it's so effective with our door-to-door sells. One time, Google, they were doing verifications to make sure that there was actually a brick and mortar for one of our listings in Boston, and they goofed it up because they didn't see our sign, and they removed our Google My Business listing. It was chaos. You know what's interesting is the person that we heard it from was a door-to-door sales rep, because he would always talk about our reviews. So I think that's really important for the up-and-coming pest control companies to be able to develop that aspect of their brand, because it's one of those that you can control what your technician looks like to the most, making sure the shirt is clean and what the logo looks like, all those things. But that online is kind of a wild card, and it's so important that we get it right.
Totally, because you're going to hear from the customers that are upset. Those ones disproportionately are going to jump on and leave a review. And then I think, from what I've seen, there's sort of three things that make for a great Google My Business profile. There's the quantity of the reviews. I remember when reviews first became a thing, it was like, if you could get 100 5-star reviews, boy, you got to, and then it was 1,000. It kind of feels like it's 10,000 now. Like, so when people just jump on and they look at Proof, for example, for the first time, they see a ton of reviews, there's credibility there. And then the star rating obviously matters. It's way better to be a 4.7, 8, 9, 5 versus in the 3s or low 4s. And then the third, which doesn't get talked about as much, is just the substance of the reviews. So one of the things that we noticed early on with Applause, because we made it clear to the customer that, hey, go on and leave a review if you had a good experience. And if the tech did a good job, mention their name. And then us as a company will bonus them, and we reward them for that. So what ended up happening is, instead of a customer going on and saying something generic like, I highly recommend Proof Pest Control, it became like, hey, like, I wanted to give a shout out to Tony. Like, he went and got that wasp nest. He cleaned his shoes before he came in, just super sharp, so impressed. Like, Proof is the way to go. It's real, there's substance there, and people do read the reviews. And when they feel real like that, they're just more powerful. And what all three of those things end up culminating in is somebody that's looking for a pest control company more likely to call you.
Yep. No, I like this, talking about reviews, especially naming a technician, for a couple of reasons. So, one, I always say, the listeners heard me say this 100 times, but someone will cancel a pest control company. What they won't cancel is John the technician. And my story, I've told this a bunch of times, but one of my business partners, we opened an office in his parents' area, and he called his mom and he's like, hey, so when do you want us to take over the pest control account, And she's like, oh no, we're not switching from whatever pest control company. I couldn't do that to John.
Yep.
And he's like, John, I'm your son. And she's like, no, I can't do that to John. The funny thing is that obviously your top technicians, they're going to really care about, hey, what happened to, Mrs. Johnson or whatever. But from their perspective, they think the technician cares more than they actually do, and they just don't want to do that. And studies show this is true with, like, in the legal world with medical malpractice, specialists get sued way more often than a primary care physician. And why? They can't do that to Dr. Johnson. They've been seeing him for 10 years, right? So that's one. The second aspect of this, so that aspect of the retention, mentioning the technician, and having that relationship with the technician, right? Learning the technician's name, huge. The second aspect of retention, as reviews affect it, is we have this thing called, every once in a while, the psychological effect called cognitive dissonance. And what that means is basically us saying, like, hey, I'm saying something that's inconsistent with my actions, or I'm doing something inconsistent with my thoughts. Tony Robbins says one of the highest forms of motivation in this life is to be consistent with who we think we are. Well, guess what happens when your customer leaves your company a 5-star review? Automatically, just by that act alone, it makes it that much more difficult for them to cancel, because they don't want to be inconsistent. And sometimes you'll see, like, the updated reviews where they go in, they're like, actually, they're not a 5-star company. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. So the power of these reviews, especially as it affects retention, and employee performance is incredible.
You're dead on, man. And what technicians quickly learn with applause, when reviews become more of a focus and they're making more money and rewarded off of them, they start to figure out, well, what led to me getting more reviews today? Like, I just saw a review come in on the app from the last customer I served. Like, why did I get that? They figure out that it's being friendly and talking to the customer and just creating more of a relationship. And that just, I mean, it's so much more than getting the review. It's exactly what you said. It's creating a relationship that leads to better retention, less likely to churn. The technician learns that, oh, I went above and beyond. Like, the customer wanted something that was a little bit difficult, took a little longer out of my way. I did it. And then sure enough, 10 minutes later, as I was driving off, I got a 5-star review from that customer. So the technicians just figure out that being more personable and friendlier, it matters. And that's obvious to us that are more business guys, founders, managers, or sales. It's not always as obvious to a technician.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that now the technician knows, hey, we're going to ask for a review from every single one of your stops. Not only is it affecting the behavior and the thought process of the customer, it's affecting it of the technician too, because they're like, all right, like maybe I don't cut as many corners because I know that the company's going to automatically ask this specific customer for a review about my specific performance. And so I feel like, and I've always felt like this, even years before I heard about applause, but I've always felt like this about reviews. In those early days, we were, tipping our technicians, and we're having campaigns and competitions, all these things, because I understood how important reviews were. Not just, they affect so many things, like I was talking about, the brand of the company, the public persona of the company, but at the root, even deeper than that, it's affecting technician behavior. And so can't be overstated.
100% right, man. And then you can ducktail over into other things that do the same thing. We will send out a 1 through 10 CSAT or NPS survey. Some companies like that to be the first thing that hits the customer's hand through the text. It's same thing. When the technician knows that they're going to get rated 1 through 10 on how they did on the job, there's just a little bit more accountability behind it. I remember the first time I sort of had this insight as a customer of what you just said was when I started taking Ubers rather than taxis long time ago. And I felt like my average Uber driver was friendlier than the average taxi driver.
For sure.
And I assumed it's because that Uber driver is getting immediate feedback on how their passenger felt about that drive. The classic yellow taxi, that was not a thing. It's still not a thing.
You know what's interesting is there's all these metrics that Applause is measuring in real time. You mentioned driving score, driving behavior. I was just on a phone conversation with a gentleman, owns a pest control company in Tennessee. I would normally give him a shout out here, but I'm going to talk about some of his long-term goals, and I don't know if those are public yet, so I won't. But he told me that he's building a company that he wants to hit 20 million in revenue in this certain amount of time. And I said, first of all, it's totally possible. You can totally do that. And then I immediately went to auto insurance. And I'm like, you are going to be surprised as your fleet grows and the number of technicians increases, how important auto insurance is to your operation. And so you mentioning like, hey, a lot of the decision, and it's crazy like that I'm saying this, but a lot of our decisions are like how we route, how we schedule, who our technicians are, like some of our marketing efforts. It's like the types of vehicles we buy, obviously, what our, our technology is within the vehicle, all these things, right, are affected by our auto insurance premiums. And so I want to hear about that. Let's talk about some more of the specifics of both what is available for technician scorecards and other means within the Applause system.
Yeah, I'll get to sort of all the metrics that we see companies measuring automatically in Applause now.
The 2026 Pest Partners 365 program from Syngenta is the industry's only year-long rebate program that lets you save on the entire product portfolio. Take advantage of the enhanced early order bonus by December 9th to reward your purchases with an even bigger bonus than before with no limit. Plus, you can automatically become a member by purchasing the Demand CS insecticide 10-gallon drum or the Demand CS Master Shipper. To learn more and to start stacking your savings, visit pestpartners365.com.
On the driving score, I did want to mention that the reason that you're 100% right. The reason that insurance rates can get out of hand as a company scales is because when you're a small company and you have 10, 20, 30 employees, behaviorally, it's a little bit more like a family or a friend group. And there's a certain level of connectivity that keeps people's behavior at its best. When a group grows in size, now we're 100, 150, 200 people in a company, the connectivity between your average technician and the owner, it's not the same. And people will start to feel just not connected in the same way, and behavior can shift in a negative way. So it's not surprising to hear that maybe the way we treat the company truck and how careful we are when we drive it, it's not as top of mind as the company scales. I think almost every company with a large fleet has experienced that phenomena. And so the way that we address it is we pull in the driving score out of Samsara, Zuga, whatever, into the Applause scorecard. You can set the goal or the expectation of that safe driving score. Technicians can see how they're tracking to it every single day. And then owner or the manager can set what the bonus or the reward is if they hit the goal. And I'll give you an example of a company that just had an awesome outcome with this. True Green uses our scorecard product for their technicians. They, in the history of their company, were never able to get a meaningful amount of technicians to score over 90 on the safe driving score out of the fleet management tool. After having Applause for 1 month, they had 20% of their technicians that got a 95.
Jeez.
And it was everything we talked about. It was like real-time information, leaderboards, accountability, the incentives that were attached to it. It became top of mind. Now it's not as important that a True Green technician has a direct relationship with the owner or manager that really cares about this. It's just they're being motivated and held accountable in a different way. So I love the safe driving stuff and how it relates, because I know that insurance costs, it's like if I owned a huge pest control company and I was thinking about efficiency, that's the first place I would go. I was like, well, insurance, I can clearly bring that down. If I can just get my technicians to drive a little bit safer and have a few less accidents, I can get that to come down, and that's almost free money.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What's interesting is that these types of tools, a lot of people don't know this when they're negotiating rates for auto insurance. But if you take this information like, hey, I have dual facing cameras, I have like these requirements for uniforms, the storage of the chemicals are set, all these things. I have a driving course that everybody has to go through. I do driving background checks before we hire people. I use this software that scores them based off of their driving. That makes a difference. Like it really does, because all that the insurance carrier is trying to get at is, all right, what's the likelihood that I'm going to lose money on this deal, right? And if they lose money, they will drop you. They will drop you, and or they'll raise your rates into oblivion. And so, and it's possible that you can't, there's situations, I hope they don't happen very often, but where you become uninsurable in a particular market. So it's such an important thing, and it's awesome you guys are doing that.
I love it. Yeah. So then some of the other metrics that I would say are the most popular, I mean, for one, right now we have 60 metrics that people can populate and track for their technician performance and create a scorecard around it. And when I talk about a scorecard, it's basically, it's picking the things that are a metric that you want to track. It's assigning a goal to it. So let's say reservice rate is one, and you want your reservice rate to be under 10%. So you're setting the goal, and then you can set a financial incentive if they hit that. So we're doing that for any metric that a company wants. Reservice rate is a very popular one. Production value, how much revenue the technician is servicing throughout the month, is popular. Attendance-based ones are popular. And then folks just also like to bring in the stuff that Applause already has: reviews, NPS, propensity of a tip. Those are probably the biggest ones. We're starting to see a lot of time on site. They can set up a metric that says, hey, we think sort of the sweet spot is somewhere between 20 to 45 minutes. And when it's outside of that, they're going to be missing the expectation. And we're going to look at that, and then we'll see folks that want technicians to upload a photo on every job because they want to be sharing that with the post-service messaging via the CRM. We can track that. So you can track almost anything that you care about that shows your technician is doing great work, treating the customer well, and being efficient. And then you put it into a scorecard. Everything is automated. So there's nothing manual now for management or admins to track or put in there. And then I think the best part is you don't have to wait till the end of the month, gather this out of disparate systems, put it into an Excel spreadsheet, email it to the technicians. It's just every single day, the technician sees where they're at in real time on these metrics that matter. I mean, it just is so much more effective than the old way, which the old way, I think for most companies, is whiteboards and Google Sheets or Excel.
Spreadsheets, yep. And as we're wrapping up here, 60 metrics is crazy, right? And I think, the way that Proof implements it is it's nice to have that data if you need it, but we're not necessarily focused on all 60. A lot of times it's like, if we're looking at everything, we're not really looking at anything.
Totally.
And it's really important for the PCO to make sure that they are aligning interests. I talk about this all the time. You have to align the interests of the company with the interests of the individual. And it seems like this platform just does a really good job of this natural alignment.
Totally, man. I say the exact same thing. It's one of the quotes of Charlie Munger, one of the best investors of all time, Warren Buffett's counterpart. He had a saying of, show me a person or a company's financial incentives, and I'll correctly predict their behavior. I mean, it is a big deal, and this does that. And so I think that, back to the focus note, we have a feature that's called focused metrics, where in the admin dashboard, you pick the top 3 metrics that you're focused on in that month. Let's say it's a month of efficiency. So you want to really have the technicians front and center attention on reservice rate and maybe like attendance or production value, and then safe driving score, which will bring down costs. You pick those 3, and when the technician logs into their Applause app, those are the 3 metrics that they see. They see the goal, they see how they're tracking towards the goal, and they see the financial incentive if they hit the goal at the end of the month. That's generally what we advise people as they get started is, hey, you can take this thing to the nth degree of what you track, but let's just focus on 3 things that are the most important KPIs for your business right now.
Yep. I love it. So, final few thoughts. What kind of pest control companies, what size or what demographic, what is it that are you guys looking for the right match? Is there a company too large for Applause? Is there a company too small for Applause? Or is this kind of something that you guys can customize and can help anybody? How does it look from your end?
Yeah. I think it's, depending on what you want to get out of Applause, at the upper end, sort of huge multi-state national companies, Applause is generally a grand slam for them. We have a lot of the largest businesses in the US. because once you have hundreds and thousands of technicians, all of these things that we're talking about just become much more difficult to manage and wrap your hands around. And it's also true that if you can move the needle when you're that big by, let's say, 1% to 2% on your
makes a
reservice
huge
rate.
difference.
We had a company that, because of applause, dropped their reservice rate by 2%. On average, because of their scale, that saved them $100,000 this year. So on a large company, home run. And then on the smallest of company, if you don't have any technicians and you're the technician, then this stuff doesn't become as important because you're effectively, you're owner, operator, managing yourself. That said, even if you only have a few techs, this is still could be a great way to get your review engine going, to like really focus on that aspect of the platform. I can tell you that our average company, all things considered, and we have about 800 companies that use Applause now.
Jeez.
The average one is between 20 to 50 technicians. And then we have several that are over 1,000.
Holy cow. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. You did it with Slingshot. You're doing it again. It's like you just pick the industry and Taylor will build you a company. So that's awesome, man.
Thank you, man. It's been good to me. I love pest control. The reason I came back and wanted to build another tool here is I love the owners. They're just
Special
they're
industry,
savvy.
man.
A lot of them are humble. They're low ego. I really just enjoy the friendship and just like working alongside them. That's why I do it.
Incredible industry. So awesome, man. Well, where do people go if they're interested in learning more about Applause? They want to hear about any special deal that Bug Bucks Plus offers through our membership program. Where do you want them to go?
Yeah, I know that we're doing incentives on, I think we're waiving the startup fee or half off there. We're discounting the scorecard product that's new for anyone that wants to check that out. Go to ApplauseHQ.com. You can read more about it and then just submit your info. We'll call you same day.
Awesome. Love it. Thanks so much for your time, Taylor. Looking forward to watching you on this journey.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me, Allan. It's fun.
Thank you so much for listening to the Bug Bucks Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please show your support by subscribing and leaving us an honest 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next episode.